Okay, this is the first time ever that we've made apple cider vinegar, and we're going through the process. We've got us a bunch of apples. We actually got these from Azure Standard, they're organic. Now, these are considered juicing apples, they're smaller and everything. And occasionally you get a bruise and stuff, and we've had these set in the cooler for about 5 days too. So but we're just taking the bad parts. We'll give those to the chickens, and we're cutting these up. Now you can leave the seeds, of course. Now you can actually use just the scraps from the apples to do this, but uh, there's more sugar when you use the whole apples. And for this project and the way we want to do it, being we don't have any apples from our trees yet, uh, we're just going to chop these up, and then we'll go through the process, putting them in jars, and let it get started. Okay, now stay with me because even though this is the first time, I'm going to go through this process completely. So this might take a month or so to make this video. But we have these in here now. Recipes vary. Some say fill them all the way up with apples, or you can use the scraps to do it. Now, some say put it halfway full. And what we've got in here, and it's already seems to be looking just a little darker, but what we've done is we've used organic sugar, and organic sugar doesn't look like regular sugar, and it comes from Azure. I'll try to put a link in the description, affiliate link kind of. Well, as far as it's not really affiliate, but they will uh, pay me a little bit on my account if somebody signs up that's new and decides to purchase. But we purchased quite a few things from Azure. In fact, uh, we caught these half-gallon jars on sale and picked us up some primarily for this purpose in making sauerkraut. But what we've done is we've you take a mixture of a cup of sugar to a gallon of water, and you can break that down if it's quarter cup per quart of water. So depends on how much you need to add. I use lukewarm water. That way, the apples were cold. The mixture right now is probably about room temperature, just a little bit above, which is good to get it started. We added a little uh, Bragg's apple cider, the raw unfiltered that has the mother in it, and so we've got some of that mother that's off in there. Let me get a little more light here and see. But you can see that brown that's in there. That's actually the mother that's in there. We shook it up good. So anyway, what that's going to do is that's going to speed up this because it's already going to have some of the active bacteria to start the fermentation process. When now you could possibly use less sugar using whole apples, but it's not going to hurt to use that much. Chances is it might work quicker. Now I do ferment wine, but I haven't in quite a few years. Uh, but depending on how much sugar you got, it's going to depend on what your finished product's going to be like. And what we're going to do now is we're going to leave this or ferment this for uh, 2 to 3 weeks. We'll look at it and see what our apples look like. But then we'll strain out the liquid, and then we'll move it over into another jar and let it continue the process. But what we're going to do is we're going to let it try to eat these sugars out, drop the sugars, and what it's going to do is turn this to alcohol. And then once it turns to alcohol, this uh, other bacteria that's in here from the vinegar, I say bacteria, yeast that's in here from the vinegar is going to uh, start uh, eating that alcohol and transforming it into vinegar. So this process takes a little bit of time, and it just varies. Now I do have a acidity tester, so we're going to ferment this until we get it to an acidic level to where we want it, because Now this Bragg's, now they say the new Bragg's is only 3% as far as acidity. But this here is older, and this is 5% acidity, so it's still the good old Bragg's. But anyway, we're going to do this because we want good, healthy apple cider vinegar. So we got these apples from Azure. They were what they call a juicing apple. These weren't the bigger like you eat. They were juicing apples. And of course, you could eat them; they taste great. But we bought them specifically 20 pounds, and that's what we've got here is 20 pounds. We have 3-gallon jars and 6 half-gallon jars, so we got 6 gallons from 20 pounds of apples. And we did fill the level, not full, but we filled it about 3/4 full on these jars to make sure that we get a good strong apple cider vinegar. But anyway, our next update will be a little bit later. Well, not for you, it'll be pretty quick. But what we're going to do is, and maybe we'll do an update then, we're going to stir these regular. What we're going to do is we're going to take and we'll use a wooden spoon, but we're going to take and push these apples down that are on the top because we don't want them to be exposed to air. Of course, there will be more carbon dioxide and such because we're going to put fermenting lids on all these big mouth jars. We have fermenting lids for them. Now these pickle jars, these are like you'd buy big dill pickles. We'll put a cloth over this and tie it on so it can get air, but we don't want any bugs in. And we're not worried about any wild yeast or something get in there. If the vinegar yeast gets in there, that's great. Don't do this with plastic jars. Make sure you use glass jars when you're doing this. They don't recommend making any vinegars in plastics. Well, I know we buy them in plastics in the stores, a lot of them, but your better vinegars are going to be in glass jars because that's some kind of reaction with the plastic. But anyway, we'll give an update soon. Okay, we're at day 4. Every couple of days, what you need to do is you just need to push these down, and you'll notice bubbles whenever you're doing this. And those bubbles are telling you that the process is happening. Whenever the yeast starts breaking down the sugars, they're going to put out carbon dioxide, and that's going to be what those bubbles are. But I've already pushed all these down. You want to make sure that you get all your ones that are on top, push them way down. In fact, make sure I push it all the way down in the jar. Now I'm using a bamboo spoon. It's not just a regular wooden spoon. It doesn't soak up like a wooden spoon. Now, if you want a wooden spoon, that's fine. Now, I don't recommend using plastics in this process. But if a wooden spoon's all you got, well, that's fine. But anyway, what I've done is pushed all these down, and I'm going to put my little fermenting lids on, and I'll tighten these up when I don't have 2 hands or when I got 2 hands. But now in my gallon jars, I don't have lids that fits these. Now I did put a fermenting lid in there so that it makes sure that my cloth doesn't get liquid on it. If you get liquid on your cloth, go ahead and change it. Now all I've got is a double piece. This is like old t-shirt, cotton t-shirt. And then put a rubber band around it. But anyway, this is where we're at now, and we'll do an update when we get a little further along. All right, we're going to look at the progress of the vinegar, apple cider vinegar, and this has been 3 weeks now. And now I want to show you the difference in these two, just so you know. This one, of course, I've been using these fermenting caps in here. I don't actually have one big enough for these jars, and this one is it's just perfect for setting down in there. But this jar is a little too big for a big mouth lid. So, but this fits down in here like so. So it keeps all the apples under the water, which is good. And these just have cloth over the top of them. Now you can see these apples on top are browner than the others. This is not a problem. Now I probably should stir these more often, but a little more hands off on here. But what I want to explain is the process at this point. You can see that the water is getting more cloudy. I say water loosely. It's turning to alcohol. Anybody that's made wine will notice the smell once it starts making alcohol. And this is part of the process. Now, a lot of people say it takes about 2 months, and it varies. Some say longer. The time exactly to make apple cider vinegar, and I'm not an expert, but I'm going to explain to you the process because I have made a lot of wine. First thing, it's got to convert all the sugar resources into alcohol to the point to where the yeast can't thrive in that particular situation. Now I'm going to stir these down. When we make wine, we like it to be really full once we get finished with it. But as we're doing the fermenting process, what we want to do is we want to keep pushing these apples down. Now these apples are actually getting softer. You could say that they're rotting, but they're really not rotting. What's happening is that the yeast that's in here, and it depends on how much you have in here. Some people might add yeast when they start this process to ensure that they have some. But naturally, you'll get some, and I can tell there's some in here because, like I say, it's been smelling like alcohol. The last week when I done this it smelled like alcohol. Now, if you had some kind of problem that got in here, some kind of bacteria or something, you would start seeing mold or something grow on top of it. You get like a mold in there, or something different, and you would maybe smell a rotted smell. Now I've never had that problem, but what's happening is this is getting to be more the alcohol content is getting higher. Now once these yeast convert this to alcohol, then that's when your other's going to come in here. Once it is finished this, it's going to be converting it to vinegar. Being we used raw vinegar to start out with to give us kind of a culture in there to speed up this process. It's going to start eventually converting this to vinegar. But the thing is the time can definitely vary. If I was to give you exact time, that would just be a random number, because what happens, depending on how much sugar you have in here, then, and we put a certain amount per volume of water, but we used apples, whole apples. We didn't just use peels and core, so we have a whole lot more sugar from the apples. And what that's going to do is when it eventually changes, it's going to make the alcohol stronger, and then eventually your vinegar stronger. But we can't give a time on that because it's got to convert these sugars. And what I'm doing, and I'm going to continue to do this, but once this gets further along, it's going to change the specific gravity, and of course you've got a certain amount of bubbles and stuff because the yeast is living off these apples, and these apples are getting soft softer as they get converted. As the yeast takes sugar out of them, they're going to get softer, and they'll start to sink a lot. You'll get a lot more sediment in the bottom over time after this process goes on. But we're going to continue this. But this is one thing that I think it's important for you to know as far as time, because if you watch some type of video and they tell you it's going to be a certain time to convert, it's not. And the way we're going to do this, we'll continue this once I feel that these apples have been taken and broken down enough with the sugars, and we separate the juice out, and you can see there is going to be some apple material left. But once we take this juice out, and then it'll be allowed to finish the process, and as this process continues, the pH is going to drop on it. So that's going to be one of the things we're going to look at. We'll look at specific gravity, and we'll actually put a digital pH meter in here so we can see what the pH of this liquid is. But anyway, this is 3 weeks. Okay, it's been this about just past the 3rd week, and you can see now that the apples are starting to drop to the bottom. This is telling you that it's definitely working through the process. It is eating all the sugars that's in these apples, turn them to alcohol, and then, of course, your bacteria is taking and eating that alcohol up. But you can see these haven't quite fallen. They do seem to be more settled. It's possible the bigger jars been able to stir it better and everything, so it'll work faster. As far as breaking this down, I'm going to leave it longer. Let it go ahead and break these down some more, use up all the sugars that's in there, and we'll come and update it here in a week or so. Okay, this is week 5 update. You can see on our gallons now everything has settled. This is a good place to strain that out. Now these half gallons are starting to settle. They weren't last week or not noticeably. So we're going to let these go another week. But what we're going to do is we're going to strain this off. We're going to stir it up first, and then we're going to strain off this juice, or the 2B apple cider vinegar. Now you'll see this white on top. Now this is normal. There's nothing to worry about it. It's a normal situation. And once we get this strained off and in a jar, we're going to allow this to go through the process. It's smelling nice and strong. I don't know that it's completely converted all the alcohol, and then once the alcohol's formed, then it's going to turn that into vinegar from the vinegar yeast. But anyway, this is where we're at right now. All right, we've strained out the juice from the apples. You can see from our 3 gallons we started with, we've got almost 2 gallons. Now, those of you that are wanting to make apple cider vinegar because you want to save money, unless you have your own apples, if you have to buy apples, you're not going to save a bunch of money. That's not the reason why I make apple cider vinegar. It's because I want to know what my product is. And of course, when you have apples, it does save you money. But what I've done is I've taken my half-gallon jars and I pour them up into the gallon jars. I put the juice of the gallon ones that I think we're pretty much at the point to take off the solids or the apples. And as you can see, these are not sinking like the others. So now with here, I'll let them go long enough to where they all start sinking. There's a few that are trying to drop out, but it's not quite there. Now I did test the pH on this juice, and it was 2.7. So 2.7 is, it's getting closer. It needs to be around 2.5 pH. That should get the acidity closer to where it should be at 5% or better. But anyway, we're going to let this go a while and go ahead and work the rest of it out. And that's the thing about when you make your own apple cider vinegar, your final product, and if you don't know what the acidity is, it could be stronger or weaker, and you need to kind of know that. But like I said, we're going to give this a little bit longer sitting there, and we'll pour these up. We'll see how it looks again in a week. Okay, it's been a little over 6 weeks, 6.5 weeks. You can see that it's doing good. The apples have all settled, so that's a good sign. What I'm going to do today with these last big jars is I'm going to strain these out, and then take and put it off in these jars. Okay, we'll go through this straining process. Now, I just have a regular colander to take and do this out. And we're not worried about getting the small pieces. We're wanting we're going to let the small pieces go ahead and work out. We're going to get all the liquid out, and we're just going to take these old apples, and we're going to put them in the compost pile. All right, I'm just going to try to pour it up in here without making too big a mess, and I need to get my little funnel. Give me a slightly bigger hole to miss. But I'm just going to pour this up into these jars. I rinsed it out. Now, always do vinegar when you're making it. Do it in glass jars. Don't do it in plastic. All this extra will just settle onto the bottom. And I'll just repeat the process with the rest of these till I get them all poured up. Okay, we're going to use our pH tester. We're going to see what this is at right now. Okay, that one's about 234. See what this one is. This one is about 232, 2.32, which is it's a good place to be, but we're going to let this set longer. Now, as this sets longer until it works out all the sugars and stuff in it, it's going to steadily get stronger. And we'll get one of the half-gallon jars that we did that were seeming to be a little bit ahead of this, and we'll check the pH on them. Okay. The sediments, you can see it in the bottom here where it's settled out. Now that was the bigger pieces, and these have worked down some more. We're going to go ahead and stir this up, make sure that it's not separated top to bottom, which it shouldn't be, but just to be sure. And now we're going to check the pH of this one. Okay. This here is about 2.38, which, if my memory serves me correctly, 2.5 is where we're looking at. We're going to go to that point. What we're going to do with this now is we're going to go ahead and screen these. This one could be screened too, but we're going to let this set for about another week, maybe at least a few days. And what we're going to do is we're going to screen out the biggest part of these small particles. Okay, we're just using one of these reusable coffee filters, nice fine screen. And what we're going to do is pour this through, and that'll take those big particles out. This can take a while, depending on how many big particles you have, but it's just going to be a matter of keep pouring it in and let it drip out. Now, we're not going to filter this. We don't want filtered. We're not going to use anything finer than this. This is usually all I use whenever it comes to filtering. I decided to go ahead and use a strainer to strain the bigger stuff out. Now, I am going to go ahead. I decided, in the midst of things, being the pH is where it should be, I'm going to go ahead and strain up these gallons that I had too. Now, these have already been strained. Now, you will have to clean your strainer out periodically, and especially if you're using, like me, reusable coffee filter type, you'll have to do it quite regular, but it's not that big a deal. Like I say, and it works well. But anyway, I'm going to do the rest of these up, but that's the process as far as for making apple cider vinegar, start to finish. And I hope you found some value in this. And of course, if you want to see more self-sufficient videos, whether it be on growing, preserving, freeze drying, such as that, just hit that subscribe, hit the bell, select all, and give her a big thumbs up. Enjoy that gardening experience.